I spent a lot of time over the last, more than a year at this point, talking about how bad Donald Trump's lawyers are. Yeah, they've lost every case that has gone to trial for him, especially Alina Habba, just horrible. They lose motions, they lose filings with the judge, begging him to do this or begging the judges to do that. They're just not good. But I will say this, to their credit, sometimes they actually do try to present a real argument to the judge. Unfortunately, it usually comes after they've been trashing the judge very publicly for months and months and months, so you kind of screwed yourself over before you even made your filing. But here's the thing. According to Glenn Kirchner, a former federal prosecutor, legal expert, he pointed out the fact that these Trump lawyers continue to go to court and humiliate Donald Trump, and they're not intending to humiliate him. And I'm not even saying they're humiliating him by losing his cases. What they're doing is they're going to these judges as recently as, 5 days ago with Alina Habba, and they're effectively telling the courts, my client doesn't have any money. And that is the most humiliating thing that Donald Trump can hear about himself. Let me read you what Kirchner had to say. Donald Trump is embarrassing himself. He's sending his sad little lawyers from one New York courtroom to another to beg judge after judge not to make him put up the full money judgment amounts he owes to appeal the cases he lost. I think very soon Donald Trump will begin having his property, his assets seized to satisfy these money judgments. Now, I don't think Trump is embarrassing himself. I don't think Donald Trump would necessarily ever tell a lawyer, go tell that guy I don't have any money. Trump is too proud for that. He is too narcissistic for that. So I don't think Trump is the one instructing them to do this. That is the one part I will kind of disagree with Kirchner on. But I do think his lawyers who have, knowledge, or at least they should, of his assets, his finances, what's liquid and what's not, I think those lawyers are kind of doing this, probably with his approval, but not necessarily at his guidance, going and telling the judge, like, listen, yeah, I know he's got to pay $91 million for E. Jean Carroll, but what if he only puts up $25 million? And then they're going to the other judge, Engeron, and saying, hey, I know Engeron, you want $454 million. What if he only gives you $100 million? Because he doesn't have the rest. Now think about the humiliation that Donald Trump suffers from that. His entire life, his entire persona, his entire who I am as a person is built on being really, really rich. And it's literally what he told us back in the 2016. I'm really rich. And what are all of his supporters finding out right now? No, you're not. You're actually not. You are very cash poor. Now, granted, Trump claims he has $400 million in the bank. If I had $400 million in the bank, y'all'd never see me again. And I think a lot of people would be the same. Like, holy crap, $400 million. I don't have to work. My kids don't have to work. My grandkids don't ever have to work. And possibly even further down the family tree. We're set. But for a guy like Donald Trump, $400 million, well, he claims he's a billionaire worth about $10 billion. So if you only have $400 million when you had told us in the past you had $10 billion, and now you actually owe more than $500 million, and you only have $4, I mean, technically on paper, wouldn't that make you cash bankrupt? Right? If the amount that you owe, the debts that you have, is greater than the cash you have on hand, that's kind of the definition of bankrupt, isn't it? So what does that do to his supporters? Well, I think the deepest, darkest, MAGA hat wearing freaks out there, they don't care. They're like, oh my God, they've taken everything from this man. We've got to support him even more now. But for the average on the fence people out there, just the normal, not necessarily MAGA, but they still like Trump because they're like, hey, listen, he's a smart businessman. Those are the ones who could swing the election, because those are the people that now look at this and say, holy crap, I thought he was a good businessman, but I mean, Truth Social is kind of a flop. All these other businesses he had that flopped, but I at least thought he was a billionaire, but now it turns out he can't even pay $91 million for this woman he defamed. Maybe it's all a lie. Maybe I need to rethink my support of him based solely on him being a smart businessman, because clearly he's not. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get hundreds of thousands of people thinking that, but you're going to get thousands of people thinking that. And Trump's lawyers are the ones, inadvertently or not, putting that thought in people's heads by continuously going to these judges, letting them know that he is broke.